his misery.
And by the way, this is exactly what happened last year. This is history repeating itself.
But you know what happened last year after they benched Zach? Injuries occurred, and Zach got the job again.
I understand
That's why you got to put him out of his misery.
But this is 2 years in a row. For a kid that you drafted 3 years ago, you've put him on the bench to make him the third-string guy.
Yes.
He's not an NFL player, at least not in this city, and not for this team. I mean, I'm not espousing what Boomer is saying, but if you're going to do it, just fully do it. If you're going to make him the third-string quarterback for the second year in a row, he's got to go. Some players just can't play in the league. Has nothing to do with him as people. I actually kind of like Zach. I've sat down with him in production meetings multiple times. I think he's a good kid. I think he works his ass off. He's just never going to get it, at least not here. He needs a fresh start, or he needs to just do something else. He is not good enough to be a starting quarterback for a team that had aspirations like the Jets have. And so, yes, everybody is at fault here, including the head coach and the coordinator and the terrible offensive line. You got Carter Warren, your fourth-round draft pick, who's a year and a half away from being viable in the NFL, scuffling, trying to make it work. But it's a disaster. And the only thing that's going to make you feel a little bit better is to get your little taste of flesh and get Zach out of here.
Well, I've already got my pound of flesh because I'm no longer subjected to watching Zach Wilson play quarterback anymore. But he ain't the guy. So if you want to put him out of his misery and release him and let another team make that decision on Zach, I'm with you on that. I endorse what Boomer says. I endorse what you say. But now we move to reality, and that is he's not going to play. Tim Boyle's the quarterback. Mm-hmm. Nate Hackett's been criticized. Rob Sala's been criticized. This offensive line's been criticized. But now they've changed quarterback. So on Friday against the Dolphins and then the following Sunday, are we going to see a difference?
Well, hold on.
You said do the easy. Will Tim do that?
He did it. Yes, he did it yesterday. He make the easy throw.
I threw out yesterday, good and bad. There's nothing to judge from yesterday. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I 100% agree. It's impossible to throw a guy in a game at the end of the third quarter. You have zero protection for him anyway. Max Mitchell is a liability to whoever is taking snaps.
He's a turnstile.
Exactly right, at quarterback. As much as I respect the career of Dalvin Cook, when you got five-man protection and basically every lineman's got a guy in front of them, you have to block the middle linebacker, period. Right? Don't just, I'm going to get out in the route and get your quarterback destroyed. Right? They have so many issues going on with this team. But Tim Boyle made the throws that he needed to. Right? Pressure's coming. I'm going to throw this one to C.J. Uzomah. Or I think it actually was Conklin. I'm going to throw it to Conklin. Pressure's coming. I'm getting this to Garrett Wilson. Pressure's coming. I'm getting it to Garrett Wilson. Oh, you fumbled. Right? No. There it goes. Right? He made the throws. He made the easy look easy. He didn't do the big stuff because he didn't really have an opportunity. But he made the easy look easy. But my question for you, forget Tim Boyle for a second.
Go.
My question for you is, what are you still expecting out of this Jet season? I'm serious. As a Jet fan, what are you seriously thinking is going to happen? Now, forget the Aaron Rodgers stuff for a second. We'll revisit that craziness, which I think actually might happen, but probably not anymore because they're not going to be in it. Because the reality is that at 4-6, guess who you're only a game ahead of in the standings overall? The New York Giants, whose season's been over for 2 weeks. Right?
Yeah.
The Giants actually feel better right now than the New York Jets.
That's the beauty of the NFL season. Everything changes on a dime. What am I expecting?
Yes. What are you expecting?
So there are two things. Number one, I will speak reality. And the reality is the New York Jets season is over, even if it's not over. And what I mean by that is...
So what do you want out of the next 7 weeks?
I expect doom. I expect this team to collapse the way they collapsed last year. But I'm going to be at MetLife Stadium on Friday afternoon, and you know I'll be in front of my TV every Sunday when the Jets play. And when I sit down in front of my TV or I walk into MetLife Stadium, I do the same thing every fan does. We try to talk ourselves into believing. So when I sit down at MetLife Stadium and the New York Jet defense forces a 3-and-out right off the gate against Tua, I'm going to start saying, here we go. Big-time defense, elite-level defense. All right, Tim Boyle, score me 2 touchdowns, kick some field goals, force a few turnovers, and let's win. Now, that's what I'm going to feel like on Friday. What I'm going to say to you today and tomorrow and Wednesday when I'm in my sane mind is we're screwed. We're done. We're not going anywhere. Those two things may sound like they're complete opposites, but that's who we are as fans.
Of course, I get game day, but what do you want from this season?
I want to make the playoffs, Tiki.
Okay, that's not realistic. So what do you want from this season?
I want to win games.
Then that's what you need to focus on.
That's all I'm focused on. That's why I wanted them to pull Zach Wilson for months.
That's what Robert Saleh needs to focus on. That's what Nate Hackett needs to focus on. That's what Jeff Ulbrich needs to focus on. That's what every single player on this team needs to focus on. It's not, we got these lofty expectations. Can you believe that Aaron Rodgers is coming back? Forget all of that. Win the game in front of you. I think part of the problem with the New York Jets, and this is top down, this is Woody down, is that from August 12th, all you could talk about was going to the freaking Super Bowl. All right, the Super Bowl just happens. Trust me. Some teams are set up to be elite, and they're going to be great, Kansas City Chiefs, but they're built that way. They can do it. Most teams in the NFL don't start planning. They think about it. They maybe dream about it in the recesses of their REM sleep, but they're not planning for the Super Bowl. The Jets have been planning for the Super Bowl for so long, and as soon as you got off that path, you're like, oh, wait, how can I find the shortcut to get back on that path to the Super Bowl? It doesn't work that way.
I haven't been thinking about the Super Bowl since September.
I know, but people are. People are. This is why the Aaron Rodgers is coming back nonsense is so powerful in this city, right? Think about it. That's all people want. And what is that? It's a shortcut. It jumps you right back onto that path to get to the Super Bowl. But the real path is long. It's arduous. It takes some development. It takes building this guy, weathering the injuries, getting on the same page, believing in one another, fighting through adversity, all that stuff. It's long and it's hard and it's arduous, and it starts with winning a game. A game, not 6, and being ready and in it, quote, in it, when Aaron Rodgers is ready to come back. It starts with a game. That's the biggest issue when you look back on this season, when it's all said and done, 8 weeks from now, when you look at the Jets, it's going to be that they started walking on this path that they had no business being on yet. And when they got knocked off of it, all they wanted to do was get the shortcut back onto it. That's the problem with the Jets.
I think the biggest problem with the Jets, and I get what you're saying, the biggest problem with the Jets is they never had a backup plan. That's the biggest problem with the Jets. The biggest problem is I was all for bringing in Aaron Rodgers, and I stand by it. Mm-hmm. Obviously,
I don't disagree.
Okay, so we all agree they made the right decision and the right gamble to bring in Aaron Rodgers. But what they needed to do was not rely on Zach Wilson in case things went bad with Aaron. Maybe not a season-ending injury, but even if you missed him for a few weeks.
But you drafted Zach.
So the Niners drafted Trey Lance. You move on when something's a mistake.
No, you move on when you find someone better.
They did find someone better.
Tim Boyle?
No. But during the offseason, they could have brought in numerous names that would have been better than Zach Wilson.
But they didn't.
But that's my point. That's where this screwed up. They never had the proper backup plan. In my opinion, Tiki, this Jet team screwed up 3 times. Number 1, not replacing Zach Wilson during the offseason. Mm-hmm. Number 2, not bringing in a backup as soon as Aaron Rodgers went down, trying to fix the mistake. And I totally get your points against Carson Wentz. I use him as a name. Mm-hmm. Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Josh Dobbs eventually via trading for Jacoby Brissett, whatever you want to come up with.
Yeah.
That's screw up number 2.
Matt likes having beers with me on Friday, so
no, I get that. And screw up number 3 is it took so long for the Jets to finally realize what you realized, what I've realized, what Boomers realized, what everyone's realized, which is Zach Wilson can't play. Now, we all came to different points when that happened. Mm-hmm. I remember 2 weeks into the year, we were arguing about starting Tim Boyle versus Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I do.
But eventually, you saw enough of Zach not be able to do the easy where you even said, I'm done. Mm-hmm. And it took the Jets so long. It took them until November 19th as their season was spiraling in a game in which they were getting blown out to make the call that they should have made weeks, months, a year ago. And that he ain't the guy. So I'm glad it's over, but now what? And the now what is more misery